Jessica Pope will have your news in about 5 minutes from now on Morning North. And over the years, you've heard on the news about how the Roman Catholic Church has shut down and sold parishes in Timmins, Sault Ste. Marie, Sudbury, North Bay. But in North Bay, some parishioners aren't taking the news that their church is being closed kneeling down. Some members from Corpus Christi and St. Rita's Church are taking their concerns to the highest level, the Vatican. That despite the fact that Corpus Christi was sold and is slated to become office space. Phillip Penna is one of the people appealing to the Vatican to save Corpus Christi Church, and we've got him on the phone in North Bay. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcus.
Let's go through this from the beginning. Why did the Diocese of Sault Ste. Marie want to close Corpus Christi in North Bay?
Well, the diocese went through a process of reviewing a number of about 30 parishes throughout the whole diocese. And in North Bay, in the English sector of the diocese, our parish, Corpus Christi, and in St. Rita's and St. Alphonsus in Callander and Holy Name of Jesus in North Bay, we were all under review. And at the end of that process, the diocese, the bishop, decided that St. Rita's, Corpus Christi were both to be closed as parishes, and that the Holy Name of Jesus and St. Alphonsus would merge into one.
And why did he want to close your church?
Well, what he determined was that in North Bay, only 3 parishes were necessary. And he determined this, it appears to us that he determined this simply on geographical terms. That is, he looked at the city and he said, geographically, I need a parish here in West Ferris, downtown, and in the north. And he determined that, well, because there's a pro-cathedral downtown, then we don't need the Holy Name of we don't need Corpus Christi Church and St. Rita's.
And what do you think of that?
Well, I obviously disagreed with that, and our parish, Corpus Christi, we disagreed with it, and we did what we had a right to do. We engaged the bishop in a dialogue around our parish and why our parish should not be closed. And partly we did that because we don't think that well, first of all, that wasn't the criteria that we were given when we were asked to review our operations and our life as a community. That was not the criteria. Geography was not the criteria. If that had been the criteria that we had been given, we would have presented ourselves differently. Nonetheless, we made a presentation to the bishop. He agreed to meet with us, and we made a presentation about our parish. We made a number of options of what he could do within the framework of the 3 parishes idea. We gave him options on how to keep our church open and viable and used for the benefit of the whole community as a parish or a mission church of some kind. And it just didn't go anywhere. And so then what we did is we decided, okay, we're going to be submissive, we'll be obedient to our bishop, and we began the process of closing our parish. But in that process of closing the parish, we wanted to exercise our rights again, which is to determine how our assets would be used, and most importantly, our church building itself. And so we went out, as long as we existed as a parish, and we did until December 31st, 2010, we had the right to initiate a transfer of ownership. So we went out to find somebody who would take over our church and continue to utilize it in the service of the Catholic community. And we found that group. And the bishop, again, he had to agree to that transfer, of course. That's the church law. We initiated it, and then he would. And he
didn't agree, though. He sold it. He sold it to a developer.
Then that's right. So after he sold it to somebody else, and our understanding is that he made that agreement for sale while we were still a parish, which is against the Code of Canon Law. But the transaction didn't happen until February the 1st, after we were suppressed as a parish.
So you're appealing all of this right to the Vatican?
We are appealing it to the Vatican. We are saying that was called the reduction of our church to secular use. The decree that the bishop issued to reduce our church to secular use and then allow it to be sold. We're saying that decree is invalid. That the sale is and the subsequent sale is an illicit sale and needs to be reversed.
And apparently the Vatican has actually ruled on some American churches that had to remain as places of worship. Tell me about that.
Well, what seems to be happening in the last year, there's about a dozen cases altogether where either the Congregation for the Clergy, which is the first body in the Vatican that receives and deals with these appeals, either the Congregation for the Clergy or the Apostolic Signatura, which is like the High Court, the appeal court, if you will, they have issued decrees in cases similar to ourselves and more similar to St. Rita, because St. Rita has not been sold, where they have said that, okay, we're going to let the bishop suppress the parish or merge the parish. We have no question about that, because all you need there is serious concern and serious reasons to do that. But we're not letting the bishop close the church and render it no longer to be used as a church, because you need grave reasons. You have to have grave cause to do that. And those grave cause did not exist. And and so they had to remain open as not so much as parish churches, excuse me, but as places of worship. And so they had to be used in some way, shape, or form, and the bishop would then decide. Excuse me for a moment.
That's okay. You go ahead. Philip,
yeah, got myself.
What do you think your chances...
were the same as our circumstances, and that's why we're very confident in our case.
Well, I was going to say, what do you think your chances are that you'll actually get your church to reopen in some form?
Well, we're very confident on St. Rita's because it's not been sold, of course, right? Corpus Christi, it's a little more difficult because there's been a transaction. What we're arguing, though, is that if our appeal is successful, with the Vatican, and it says, and they agree that the sale was not licit according to church law, then it also says that will also mean, we contend, that will mean that the sale was not licit in civil law, because the diocese, in order for the Catholic diocese, the Episcopal Corporation, to make a civil law transaction, it has to first meet its canonical obligations. And therefore, because, in a sense, the Episcopal Corporation is a legal corporation in civil law. But the internal rules of that corporation have to be met first in order for them to act civilly. And and the civil law will say that. And therefore, we're saying if the internal rules were not validly, were not followed properly, then the transaction in civil law is not licit. And so we're expecting if we get a good appeal, a favorable appeal, we're going to then try and make sure and do what we can to have the building returned to the hands of the diocese and to be used for the good of the Catholic community.
All right, Philip, I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's Phillip Penna. He's one of the people appealing to the Vatican to have Corpus Christi Church and St. Rita's Church in North Bay remain as places of worship. You're listening to Morning North on CBC Radio 1.